Welcome to Between State Lines.
This episode contains a brief mention of suicide, and as such, listener discretion is advised. If you or someone you know needs support, please reach out to the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by calling or texting 988. You're not alone, and help is available. Welcome back to Between State Lines, episode 17, I think we're at now. I think we're at 17. And yeah, I think we are now. So that is amazing. And welcome back, Steph. We have her back, which is excellent news for my wife, who was definitely having fun with my paranormal spooky talk. Her patience bar was pretty low for me. So welcome back, Steph. And then today we have a very special guest with us. Welcome in Layne, aka Lois Layne, with 2 eyes on TikTok. Her account is all about telling ghost stories, both personal, and she's recently started getting viewer submissions, so that's pretty awesome. So before we get started, I would like to ask our guest certain questions first. So the first question I want to ask you is, if, let's just say, Jeff Bezos saw you on the street and said, "Hey, I want to give you $500,000. But the caveat is you have to get into a box, open air box, big enough for you to roll around, move around in. You're not confined, but in that box is like 15,000 cockroaches, and you have to be in the box for 8 hours. Would you do it?"
Do I get goggles to wear while I'm in the box? Or is it just like I have to raw dog the experience with the cockroaches?
um, I'll give you goggles. I'll give you goggles.
I will do it then with the goggles. 100%. Very unwillingly, but
See that?
I think I could do it. I think I could. I think I could.
See, Steph, there's one other
So
person
much.
that would do it.
I
Um,
still can't. I'm like, okay, goggles, good one. Face mask. I think I'd need the face mask too, but then I'm like, earmuffs. I don't know. I still don't know.
Caveat to that: if the same Jeff Bezos said, "Hey, we're going to increase it at $500 million," would you chop your own hand off?
Oh my
It's a
gosh,
clean
wait,
cut.
that's
You can
actually a good
reattach it
question.
afterwards.
Oh my gosh. Probably. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, but
Probably. If I
okay.
can like reattach
Thank you.
it, then it's
Thank you for raising the limit, because the 500,000 was not worth it. Oh God, I'm doing stuff again. Uh, uh, yeah, the 500,000. No, that, because I think that you severely underestimate how much reattachment is. Like, hand surgeons, especially, expensive. And then insurance, would they even cover that? They're like, yeah, don't think so. You
no.
did this.
You voluntarily
See,
cut your hand
as
off.
Steph
No.
knows, I am my body parts are all up for sale. So I will cut off my fingers for $500,000 one at a time. Like, give me the money.
Yeah, there's no reasoning with this guy.
Oh my gosh.
Lane's like, "What did I get into? Can I back out of this now?"
It's too late.
Cutting all the body parts is crazy. That like mutilation of the hand, I feel like that 5 million would be like, okay, or 500 million would be like, okay. Millions, maybe. Thousands? No, no.
No, 500 million, like, that was a good step up. But again, it's important to me that this money is physically in front of me. Otherwise, I don't believe you. You're just tricking me into it. And then you're going to be like, oh, actually, somehow you didn't read the terms and conditions and now you're just out of hand.
We ask the most important questions on this podcast. These are vital questions.
I know. It's like,
Those
first
were
things
very
first,
good
would you cut off your hand?
questions. Yeah. No, those were actually good icebreaker questions because the answers do matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know what's wrong with Holden, but it's okay.
You know, like I said, sponsors, you want to fund this, I will do it. Up to a limit. Okay, I need my head. I need to be alive. I can't just cut everything off. So that aside, I want to ask you, Layne, have you ever got an email from a viewer, read it, and just like stopped and were like, okay, this person is completely full of crap? Like, we got one in the inbox that was like, I swear to God, it said that they woke up midair, floating above their bed, which isn't like the worst thing, while a demon stood in the corner growling at them. And then they added in there was a really strong like wind blowing them around, and their bed started shaking, and they blacked out. And I was like, I don't know if I can put our reputation on the line for that one.
Take the poltergeist.
Yes. I get a lot of emails every day. I probably get like 30 a day now, and a lot of them are like, I would never talk about them because it just sounds so incredibly, it sounds like a movie. Like I had one where this woman was like, this happened to my granddad. He went to university and this room was haunted, and they found out that there was a Ouija board in the room and that these kids were like, I don't know how what is your podcast rated? Is it like family friendly or
I haven't put family friendly, so no, I would say no.
okay, perfect. The mention of suicide was mentioned that these people would be taking their lives from using this Ouija board, and like that in itself is not terrible, but it's the way that they found them that I was like, I think we would have heard about this in the news if boys were punching mirrors out in their dorm room alone and slicing their throats. Like I'm pretty sure we would hear about that. I don't know, but a lot of it is the same as you guys were talking about. Like the wind was whirling, there was a demon with horns in the corner of my room growling, and I knew he wanted to take my soul. Like stuff like that. And I do think a lot of them are like young children trying to like, oh, tell my ghost story on your page kind of thing. Because I do get a lot of those too. Like, please, if you make a video, tag me. And I'm like, all right. I read the stories, I tell them because they're believable and people have a niche for scary things. And I'm not super open to telling stories just for views, you know? So I get a lot of them, in short.
Yeah,
email. That's wild.
Yeah, I feel like I know Steph listens to like scary podcasts to go to sleep, which is I don't know how you do that, but
To
you
go to
know I know
sleep?
you fall asleep before.
It's the
Yeah,
right
yeah.
it's the right tone. It just lulls you into sleep. I don't know what it is about like the dark shadow in the corner. And I'm like, okay, yeah.
I
Like,
can
all
understand
right.
that.
But I do feel like I fall asleep
It's
before
yeah.
anything really scary happens.
Well, that's good. That's good because I was gonna say the podcasts I listen to during the day scare me during the day. So if I like comprehended anything that was going on in my ear, I would immediately have to shut it off and put on like SpongeBob or ASMR or something. Something else.
Like I will have to get some of those recommendations from you as well. So we'll be following up on that.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like I check out scary podcasts, and there's one or two on YouTube that I'll listen to, and like I'll get through halfway through the episode, and then he goes off on this weird tangent, like this weird ass like story. I'm like, okay, man, like you had me, even if these are all fake, you had me up to this point, and I'm like, now I'm lost. I can't listen to this like complete ridiculousness. But that being said, Layne has some good scary stories for us today, hopefully. And our goal today is to scare Steph. Um, Me, it's pretty hard to scare. I watch a lot of horror, and there's really nothing that can scare me. I watch horror. I listen to scary podcasts at night and during the day, and nothing. I can sleep fine. So, yeah, our goal today is to scare Steph and hopefully our listeners. So I'll let you have the floor.
Of course. So I'll start off. Sorry, my dog is behind me. She's sleeping, if you didn't just hear that. Um, Most recently, and I think this scared a lot of people on my page specifically because I've never feared away from anything. So I just want to preface that. And since I've started doing videos on TikTok, I've been hyping up this place in my hometown. And it is a very famous haunted museum. There are very famous haunted artifacts there that people talk about in magazines, Zach Bagans, all of those people. I wanted to go and I wanted to scope it out. And I wanted to scope it out before I made a concrete video about it because I don't want to get my viewers to look at something that isn't 100% something that I would back. So I went on a whim one night with my friends, and my boyfriend. My boyfriend has been to this museum before, and it was previously in a haunted bar, probably an hour outside of my town. They moved in town, and now it's easier to access, and etc. So I was like, "Hey, let's go. I need to scope it out for a video," and we go. We get there probably 8:30 at night. It closes at 9:30 and the girl looks at us and is like, "Hey, it takes an hour to go through. Do you guys want to do it?" We say yes. My boyfriend rents a spirit box and the moment I realized that I fucked up was when she handed us these waivers. And the waivers essentially told us, if anything, like I have chills and I'm like shaking right now thinking about this. If anything touches you, if anything harms you, they're not at fault and you're not to touch anything or taunt anything or speak to anything in a malicious manner. I was like, okay, that's a little weird. I specifically wanted to go to this museum though for this doll. My boyfriend was haunted for a while from a spirit from this doll. He thought it was bullshit, taunted it, haunted him. We can get into that if you want. She hands us flashlights, opens the door, and is like, "Okay, guys, have fun. Start in the basement because that's where all the cool stuff is." And I was like, "Cool stuff? Like, what do you mean a basement?" When I tell you, like a wave of just so many different feelings, so many different emotions, and the spirit box starts going crazy. We walk in, and there's this massive room. To the right are dolls, ceiling to frickin' floor. To the left, a wall of Ouija boards that were donated to the museum. And I see the doll that was haunting my boyfriend. We pay our dues. Everything in this museum has like a little paragraph attached to it as well. So I'm like reading about the doll, why she haunts the doll, who she is, how they came about to have her. And I was like, okay, I'm getting kind of weird vibes. Let's move on. We move on. There's like this slim hallway with a bunch of mirrors, whatever, clowns, stuff. It's set up in a way that looks like it's supposed to scare you, kind of. So I was like, okay, clown dolls, haunted clown dolls, that's kind of niche. Like that's, stereotypical, whatever. We get to this basement door, and the spirit box is like, but there's something trying to say something. And I can't hear it very well. and my boyfriend has it up to his ear. We approach the door and we hear one knock right as we get to the door. Just, I was like, "Did you hear that?" He didn't want to scare me. He said, "No, I didn't hear that." We go into this basement and it is, to paint the picture, no lights. Um, very dimly. There, sorry, there are lights, but they're like red fairy lights everywhere, kind of set the tone. It is a concrete basement with no flooring, so it's just dirt. And there is just a very heavy feeling down there. And I don't know if you guys have ever come into contact with anything that makes you feel heavy, but I immediately started to feel like there were 30 eyes on me just from every corner. I started telling my boyfriend, like, I'm getting really weirded out. I don't like it. I can't focus. Like, I feel like I'm gonna pass out. He's like, it's fine. That's normal. There's a lot of energy here. It's okay. You just have to feel like you're okay. And I was like, you're right, whatever. Our flashlights go out. Like, mine goes out, his goes out shortly after, our friend's goes out. So now we're walking in the dark in this basement with everything you could possibly imagine, from crime scene weapons to dolls to hospital chairs to doll houses. Anything you could possibly think of was down there. As I'm making my way back into this larger area where there are bigger items, I am very drawn to this specific part of the museum. And I see that it's roped off, but I'm only considering that it's roped off because they want it to look a certain way and they want to, like, I don't know, section off the museum so there's not a lot of people and there's like an even flow, whatever. As I'm about to cross into this roped off section, my friend grabs the back of my shirt and pulls me back. And I was like, why did you do that? And she points at this sign and it says, enter at your own risk. Everything associated in this room and everything that is in this room is associated or has been associated with demons and um, witchcraft, in short. Please bless yourself before and after you go into this room. There was a jug of holy water right next to the entrance. I bless myself, I bless my boyfriend, I bless my best friend. We walk in. And the way that the room is set up is like it's roped off, right? There is a small doorway in the back, and I can kind of see stuff back there, but I don't know what it is. And it's completely cemented back, and there's like the water heater back there. Oh my gosh. I'm like, the way that I felt walking towards this opening, right? I knew something was wrong immediately. And this is realistically where the night turned for the worse for me specifically. I don't walk into the very back room after the ropes. I peek my head in and I see bones everywhere. And not like animal bones, human bones on the walls that have been used in sacrifice and rituals on the wall. That was really weird. I just heard something. That's awesome. Separately, I stuck my head in, right? Immediately I look around and there's like a chair, there's the bones. I'm like, I'm not going in there. Something about it literally felt like you're pushing your face into like a fog. I back up, I leave. The spirit box is still going off, and my boyfriend is like, this thing's going crazy right now. We walk out. I bless myself twice, bless my friend, bless my boyfriend again. We just head on our way. We had been clicking our flashlights too pretty much the whole night. I don't know if it was an anxious tick. I don't know what it was, if we were just trying to get them back on and we just forgot that we were clicking them so much. We clicked them thousands of times. My boyfriend wanders off And we're kind of like wandering around the basement. I'm feeling off now. Instead of feeling like I'm being watched, I have this overwhelming sense of this presence that is in that back room watching me. And I start to position myself so my back is against a wall at all times, so I can see everything that's in front of me and nothing can really be behind me. My boyfriend walks up to this doll and a voice comes through. And it's a woman's voice, but it's so quiet that they can't hear. And he's like, "Hey, since you're here, can you turn my flashlight on?" Click on. He's like, "Guys, she turned my flashlight on." All like both my friends come over that had their flashlights off and asked this presence nicely, "Hey, can you guys turn this light on for us?" Click on, click on. Their flashlights were on after being off the whole night, and us clicking the backs of our flashlights. I ask, my flashlight turns on. Finally, after that, I'm like, no, I don't want to be down here anymore. That was really freaky, and I'm kind of over it. We need to go back upstairs. I felt better upstairs, so we walk upstairs. They're still like taking the spirit box to all of these artifacts, and there are hundreds of artifacts in this museum. They take it and they're walking around to each of the dolls, and I'm starting to feel not worse by any means. I just started feeling like this is real, and whatever I thought this place was is not. It's not fake. I definitely should have prepared myself more mentally, because I walked in thinking, this is a faux museum. It's a museum to grab your money. I walk back to the wall of Ouija boards, and I have very specific experiences, and one of my very first paranormal experiences with Ouija boards. And I remember seeing this badly burned Ouija board in a box that was locked. And the note that was on it, to the middle of the wall, it said, "Do not interact with this board. Do not touch this board. There is something evil associated with this." I was like, oh my gosh, because I believe in Ouija boards after my experience. My boyfriend holds up the spirit box to the board, and some very strange noises start coming out of it. I don't know if they were human. I don't know if they were growls. I don't know. Immediately after he did that, probably 20 seconds after that, I start to feel very nauseous, and not like, well, I'm feeling sick. It was like, you're gonna be sick right now. Something to note about me, I have emetophobia. That's my biggest fear, is throwing up. So the moment I felt that, I pretty much shut down and I went completely nonverbal. I walk away from the board. I walk towards another section of the museum with the dolls. I breathe. I'm like breathing heavy, and I'm like, okay, it passed. I'm fine. Probably 15 seconds later, it comes back, only worse. And that is when I was like, I'm done. And I told my friends as I was walking out of the museum, I was like, I'm done. This is real. I'm not messing with this anymore. I should have known better that it was real. The moment I walk out, I'm fine. My friends spent, mind you, this was 30 minutes in the museum, and it takes usually an hour for people to go through this thing. 30 minutes and I was out. My friends come out, and it fucked me up for the rest of the day. Like, we were planning on going to the casino and, having a lot of fun afterwards and like doing something lighthearted. And I was completely nonverbal the way there. I was completely nonverbal the rest of the night. I shut down completely because I could not believe that I had experienced something like that with such a heavy energy. And once I posted about it, um, everyone was wondering, and I never disclose the places that I visit, specifically in my town, because there are a lot of weirdos out there, and I don't want people to bombard this business and think that it's fake, number one. And number two, I don't want people knowing where I go sometimes because people can be weird. So everyone's asking me, online, is this Zach Bacon's museum? And I'm just like, no. There's a girl who responds and says, I know what you're talking about. And it threw me off completely because I was like, how does someone from my hometown know what I'm talking about? And she starts to tell me that the people who own this place don't fully understand what they have. And what I mean by that is, I guess the jug of holy water was not always there. And I, now looking back on it, realize that a quote unquote challenge that they have in this museum is to sit in a dark room with haunted artifacts, like some of their most haunted artifacts, for at least 10 minutes alone. That is extremely dangerous. And I feel like people think that it's a joke having to do that. And reading all the comments about people having negative experiences or the experience that they had with the owners made me realize that that is just somewhere I don't want to go ever again. And I made that very abundantly clear. I had some people who were disappointed in my decision to not return to the museum, but that was not necessarily one of the more tame interactions that I've had with spirits, but it definitely was the most surreal because I felt what everyone talks about, feeling nauseous, feeling that heaviness, feeling that presence in a space. I've never felt that before. So that really freaked me out. That freaked my friends out as well when I went absolutely nonverbal. And I will not be going back, or I'm not really as interested in investigating demonic places or things that have evil energy associated with them because that shit is real. And I don't know if y'all believe that, but that's my museum experience.
Wow. I cannot believe there's so many parts of the story. I was like, I would turn around. I would not be able to do this. Holden, not as scared of haunted objects. I will not touch them. I'm like, I will send you them. I will order them online. He's like, what if it gets you that way? I'm not touching them. I'm not doing it. Because you don't know what you're inviting in. No, thank you.
100%.
But man, you're so brave. You're so brave. Even when you're talking about going down to the basement and then you're talking about like the dolls and the Ouija boards and then you're like, and then you're at the basement door. I'm like, what? We're not in it yet?
Dude, the amount of things that are in that museum, and a lot of them are donated. And they have their own page on how they get these artifacts. And a lot of them are like, hey guys, sent you this haunted medallion because it makes me sick every time I wear it, or it has everyone who's worn it has died, or this doll brings bad luck. They just send stuff to this museum. And they're actually opening another museum in a separate state. They're opening one in Florida. So I guess a lot of their more haunted items are now in Florida. So that wasn't even the most haunted things that they have. And it scared me shitless. So can't imagine what they have there.
Wow. Yeah, okay. And then I do have to ask about, you said that the doll that haunted your boyfriend, was it,
Yes.
you guys went there and it started haunting him, or was this something that haunted him previously and he knew it was there?
So my boyfriend used to not be a believer before I met him. And okay, I don't know if y'all are from a small town, but in small towns, we do weird stuff, like go to haunted cemeteries that are in our town. And there is a game that you play at this cemetery, and it's since been like boarded up. The owners are very, you know, they don't like people on their property anymore because the spirits, I guess, don't like to be disrupted. So there's barbed wire and everything now, so nobody can go now. when we were in high school, so probably 5 years ago, they played this game called Four Corners. You go at 3 a.m. and you touch all four corners, and then things happen. His friend was with him playing this game and was like, "Oh, you have to." I never say the doll's name, by the way, ever. I'm so scared of it. Her. I'm scared of her. His friend is like, "There's this doll at this museum, and she apparently messes with you if you're not nice to her." And he's like, "Man, F that doll, F this, blah blah blah, that's not real." And that night, when he got home, he was laying in bed with his lights on, and the light all of a sudden started to flicker. And not like a my light bulb's going out. He could hear the light switch flicking on and off. Additionally, he starts to hear little scratching noises from I don't know where, but the lights would shut off for like seconds at a time, and he could hear the light switch flick on and off. So eventually, texted his sister. He was like, "You need to come in here, please." She opens the door. He leaps out. He sleeps in her room. And the next day, he's telling his dad about it, who is also not a believer, but has experienced paranormal things. And I know this because he has pulled me aside and been like, "Hey, it's all that." The next day, he's like, "This is what happened to me." His dad's like, "Bullshit. Let's just change your light bulb. It's going out, whatever." Gets up on a stool to change the light bulb. His dad is inches away from the light, and it turns on. Does not flicker. It just stays on. My boyfriend went to the museum when it was located in the haunted bar and apologized to the. I'm so sorry if you can hear anything in the background right now. My family, I have my family over right now, and they're watching the World Series. It's coming down.
Oh,
It's
that's
close
fair.
right now. So they're screaming. I don't know if y'all can hear them, but it's getting wild. I can hear them.
Like, who are we rooting
But he
for?
goes to this museum. My dad is from the West Coast, so we're rooting for the Dodgers. Born and raised a Dodgers fan. My mom is a Yankees fan, so it's a divided household. But Dodgers.
Oh, even more.
Short answer. Short answer. But my boyfriend goes to the museum, apologizes to this doll, and it stopped. All of the weird stuff that was happening to him stopped. Yeah. And from that point forward, he was like, "We have to go see this doll. We have to." Like the moment I met him. And then he's pretty big on TikTok, or he has a large following on TikTok as well for doing weird comedy sketches. Um, and once I started making videos, he's like, "We have to go to the museum. We have to. Like, you have to see it in person." I honestly could have gone the rest of my life without doing that, but it was a great experience. And there's a weird energy about that place where I have said that I would never go back, but it's like an addiction. It's like you want to go back and see what's there, and you want to see if you can catch anything else. But probably will never go there again because it was really, really scary.
The small town stuff, we used to do that too, but not going to cemeteries. We would go to, um, there was a old mental hospital and it closed down many years ago, and they actually had security guards patrol it because they didn't want anyone out there. And we would go and we found our way in. We found our way in so many different times that they started putting alarms on the doors, and we would climb up the second story and go in through a window. And yeah, I had one of my scariest experiences out there where I think that I saw a hat man. And I heard like this little girl scream, and I was with my best friend. And it's a huge property. It's the middle of the night, so it's not like there's like houses or anything out there, or the chance of a little girl being near us. So it was petrifying. And I told myself I would never go out there again. I did. I did many times, but since then they have torn it down and built houses out there, and those houses still freak me out. I'm like, I can't believe that people live over there, because there was even stories about like cemeteries on the property that were moved to build buildings, and like they don't ever list where the cemetery was moved to. And so I was like, okay, is this a poltergeist situation? Did they move it and then there's like unmarked graves somewhere? Or did they not move it and just build the buildings? Don't know.
Oh my
But
goodness.
yeah, the things you do as a teenager to entertain yourself when you can't, there's not a whole lot of other things to do.
Literally. I never went to the cemetery when I was in high school because that's if I was dealing with something in high school that was paranormal, and it was my first real taste of, oh shit, this is real and I shouldn't have fucked with this, after I played with a Ouija board. And I after that I was like, I'm not going to that cemetery. Something bad is going to happen if I go. And then when I eventually did go when I was in college, I did not get out of the car, and my friends were trying to find a way in. And like I said, now it's all like boarded up and like barbed wire everywhere and surveillance cameras because it's on someone's property. And I remember looking out of the back window of this pickup I was in, and clear as day, I could see someone standing at this tree, looking around the tree at us. I was like, that is in the fence. I don't know who can climb up barbed wire. I don't know anyone skinny enough to fit in between the fence posts. We need to go because that's something I don't want to deal with right now. And when I got home, I was like, God, like what was that? And I always have someone on the phone when I come inside to my parents' house, specifically because they don't have neighbors across the street and a lot of weird stuff could happen, you know? So on the phone, I got inside, and my parents' house leads straight into the garage. So, or not, from the garage to the kitchen. So I walk in, and I'm on the phone with my friend, walking through the kitchen in the dark, and all of a sudden I hear dishes fall into the sink, like silverware fall into the sink. And I sprinted down the hallway into my room. No idea how that happened, specifically when I got home at 3 a.m. Don't want to know. And shortly after that, probably a day or two after that, I got into my first car accident. So, yeah, yeah,
No, thank you.
because
Oh, no,
yeah,
thank you.
because of a malfunctioning light. Yeah, so that's really cool.
You're like, no thanks to that cemetery.
No, and I was
Just,
like, this is Final Destination. I'm gonna die. This is, yeah. So that was a
yeah.
very strange. And
I think,
my boyfriend did not believe me.
how could he
Yeah,
not?
he was like,
He's
he's
had
like, you're
those
a bad
experiences.
driver. Yeah, and you know what's crazy is that we both have experienced things, but it's like we experience the opposite things, if that makes sense. So like
Yeah.
I've heard auditory things and I have seen spirits before. He has seen things move and heard things scratching, you know. I have just recently started hearing scratching, and it was specifically after I made this video about a demon that this girl was experiencing. And in the video, I left it in. You can see me turn around because I'm hearing something. And I'm like, this is really weird. I don't like it. He fully saw a door open and slam shut, dogs growling, the whole shebang. Everything that is textbook of a paranormal experience was his first real taste of paranormal. And I'm very envious, but at the same time, I'm also one of those people that if I saw it, I'd probably pee my pants. So, probably
Yeah.
not a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. I always worry about like, okay, would I be oblivious if something were to be going on around me? And I kind of hope so, honestly. Because that stuff, like, I love listening to stories about it. Experiencing it, not so much. No, thank you. Sounds terrifying. I know, like, I for one have never messed with the Ouija board, and I'm way too scared. Like, even stuff that has decorated Ouija boards, I'm like, feels a little too close. Yeah,
Yeah.
so brave.
I have made multiple videos saying that was my first real video that blew up was my experience with the Ouija board. And at the end of the video, at the end of every video that I make about people playing with Ouija boards, I always say like I have messed with it and if I could take it back, I would. And it's the one thing that I would because it's real and it fucked with me for a long time and I don't know what it was. And I don't really want to know, you know. But I just remember, and I made a video about it after this experience. It was like there was just someone there all the time. And I heard someone once and pretty much barricaded my door until I was in high school at the time, so my parents came home or my sister came home, had my dogs with me. They heard it too, the whole thing. And it just freaked me out. And it followed me around for a little bit and it was affecting my sister who was seeing things in her dreams and having nightmares about specific things really freaked me out, you know?
Yeah, I would say that if I had any experiences, that'd probably be how it would be for me. Is it'd probably come to me in my dreams, and that would freak me out. Uh, I had a dream that came true once when I was a kid, and it was like, uh, you're probably too young for this. Bear in the Big Blue House. If you've heard of that show, like it's like a kid show, and they had
Yes.
shadow time. And it was like shadow time where I saw somebody like hunched over their steering wheel and I knew who it was my godmother's stepdad, and that there was like it looked like a firefighter and a nurse went to his vehicle, and that I knew that he had passed. And I woke up and I was just bawling my eyes out. And I remember I went crying to my mom. And it was probably about like 6 months later that he actually did end up, he had a heart attack on the side of the freeway. And an off duty nurse and firefighter found him. And yeah, like since that day, if I have a dream that looks like it's like black and white, I look for the color because I'm scared that if it's in black and white, it's going to come true because that's the only one that I've ever had that was like that.
Wow. See,
Yeah,
I've
I
had
was
dreams come true,
pretty,
but nothing like that. That's wild.
yeah. My mom even was like, "Remember when you dreamt that?" And I was like, "Yeah, like it was a lot to take in because I think that I was probably like 11 when I had the dream, and he passed around the time I was like 12."
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's intense.
It still it
Yeah.
kind of freaks me out.
Yeah, that would freak me out too. I have a lot of dreams about my boyfriend's sister recently had a baby, and I had a dream about her being pregnant way before she told us. And I remember the gender, and I remember where I was and who it was because I was sitting in the hospital room, and pretty much the whole time that I was having recurring dreams about it, she was pregnant. And I have had dreams before where I wake up and I'm like, I need to tell someone. Like, I need to tell this person that I had a dream. And it's really weird how the universe talks to us. It really is. I don't know if you're into that all that stuff, but I do believe that something is trying to tell us something when they give us dreams like that. And kind of
Yeah,
freaks me out thinking about that.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm very into it. I love like listening mostly to other people's stories. I'm like, please just it's cool if that happens to you, but I also just don't feel like I know what to do with it. Like,
Yeah.
with having that dream, yeah, I just don't know what to do with it. Like, what are you supposed to make of that? And then does it freak you out and make you kind of scared of like living your regular life? Like, okay, is this going to come true? Or do you have influence and you can change something?
See, that's my
What
dilemma
if you
as
don't?
well. That is my dilemma as well.
Yeah. And then what if you have influence and could change something, but then you didn't know to act? Yeah. I don't know. Freaks me out, but I also, it's so interesting. I love it. It's kind of cool that everything, I don't know, it just feels like everything's connected.
I would 100% agree with that.
One question I had for you, Layne, before I got on puke duty. So your boyfriend was a skeptic beforehand, is that right?
Yes, complete skeptic.
So when you said that he mocked the doll, my initial thought was like, I 100% would be the one to mock the doll. In fact, is it like, do you have to use her name to get haunted by her, or is it like just
So
haunting?
I personally believe that the name gives her the presence that she does because it's definitely not a normal mainstream name like Annabelle, for example. That's a I know a couple Annabelles. This specific name is so unique that it really freaked me out. Actually, I had a commenter on a video about this doll with the same name as the doll comment. And it was the top comment on the video. And I was like, there's no way that I took a screenshot, sent it to my boyfriend. I was like, this is what is happening. Like we were talking about, everything is connected. I can definitely send you a
That's
link
terrifying.
to her because she has been written as the most haunted doll in the world.
Oh my God.
So,
See, I have been, as Steph knows and our audience knows, I have been trying to get haunted for so long. I haven't seen a ghost in like 15 years. And so I'm like trying, I'm like, please. And the thing is, the previous owner died on the front driveway. And I actually found this past weekend, I found a shelf that he built his dad back in like the 30s. It has like his name on it. It says Love Tom. And so I'm like, maybe if I put this somewhere, I can get him to just like,
Yeah.
I just want to see a ghost that he can go away.
Well, we were talking about you can have different experiences. Like, it's like same thing, different brand. Yeah. Because she's talking about the things that she experiences versus what her boyfriend experiences. And yeah, it just same thing, different brand.
yeah, we were talking about how he's a very see it to believe it kind of guy. So when I tell him like I have seen spirits and I have heard spirits speak audibly to me, um, in the least schizophrenic way possible that I can explain that because sometimes people are like, "Do you have schizophrenia?" And I immediately am like, "No, this was definitely like an outside voice coming into me and that I could feel their breath." Um, he has seen things move where I have not, but I believe it. He has never seen a ghost or anything or an apparition, so he does not qu- believe in them. He knows they exist. He just needs to see it to believe it. The fact that you want to be haunted um, voluntarily is the wildest thing I have heard in a while. That,
Thank
sir,
you.
is absolutely nuts. We should, oh my gosh. No. I was haunted for a little bit, and it was the most petrifying thing I could possibly have happen. And if it ever happens again, I will tell the spirit, Hey, I have someone who would love to see you, actually.
And
Like,
just make
he's
it
been waiting
very clear it
15
is
years.
Holden.
Yes, I'll be like, he has been waiting 15 years to see you. Oh my gosh.
See, okay, see, when growing up, my mom would make us do seances in the living room, and we were like, 8, 9, 10 years old, and we'd be like sitting in the living room, lights off, 2 or 3 in the morning, and
Oh
you
no.
know, my mom would tell us there was a ghost in the house named Clayton, and that Clayton was a demon of some kind, or close to a demon. And so we were like terrified growing up of seeing this like Clayton figure. And I've seen like a few like shadow people in my time, and I've seen like ghosts in hotel rooms, but like I've never in the last 3 places I've lived, I haven't actually seen an apparition, like a full body apparition. Like, when we bought this house, we got our keys, came in, visited the house, turned all the lights off. I came back alone the next day, and all the lights were on in the house. Like, but I didn't see a ghost. So I was like, okay, well, if you're gonna haunt the house, I need to see you in front of me. Like, you can't just turn the lights on.
That actually reminded me, I mo more recently made a video about how my sister, when she was a little girl, would say some pretty fucking scary stuff. And kids say scary stuff time to time, you know? Um, I remembered this very vivid memory from the very first house that we lived in. Me, my mom, my dad, and my sister, and my brother. And very old, historic neighborhood. I remember walking up the stairs, and we had like a landing, and then there was another flight of stairs that led completely upstairs. And I remember looking up the second flight of stairs that went all the way up and seeing this man at the top of the stairs. And there was a light at the very top as well. And it was on and it was shining in such a way that I could not see any features of him. But I knew it wasn't anyone that lived in the house with me because he was wearing different timed clothing. And I was like 6, 7. And it apparently got locked away in the back of my brain for like, I don't know how long. And then the other week when I was making that video, I turned to my mom and I was like, "Do you remember that house? Did I ever say anything weird?" She's like, "Well, the attic was in your room, so yeah." I don't remember the attic being in my room. I don't remember that house very much because I was so young. But I guess some stuff might have been there. And it's terrifying. And I'm also a believer that sorry, I go off on tangents a little, but I believe that people, specifically children, are more susceptible to see things because they're more open to it, which is why we hear about kids seeing ghosts more often than adults. So that's my theory on why I saw that man and why my sister saw a bunch of stuff when she was little. So,
I believe that. I believe that for sure. Also, we love tangents. We love them.
perfect.
You can go off as many as you want.
I mean, that's how we got to the whole "Would you chop your hand off for $500,000?" That was the one of our tangents. So, Layne, this has been like so amazing. We've had such a great time like talking to you. Tell the people, our wonderful audience at Between State Lines, where they can find you on all of the interwebs.
Yes, I am predominantly on TikTok, like Holden and Steph have introduced me. My handle is Lois Layne, Loiis dot Layne, Layne. My Instagram is my full name, which is attached to my TikTok, so I won't say my full name. And that's pretty much it. I'm not on much more social media than that.
I could see us having you back for sure on multiple episodes. So I will inbox you again because this has been amazing.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Thank you.
100%. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been absolutely a blast going on tangents and talking about ghosts.
Yeah.
And hey, you know, the
And-
Dodgers won, so go celebrate with your dad.
Oh yeah.
Woo! Yeah. It must have gone
All
to
right.
like the very end then, because when I came in here, they were in my living room and they were like, "Oh my gosh, the fact that you have to leave right now." I was like, "Bye guys. We'll see if they're still playing when I'm done." But I'm glad they won. Everything will be fine when I walk out
Yeah,
there now.
it was actually a walk-off grand slam, so you missed really exciting.
Wow. That's probably why they were cheering in the background. When I was like, if you're people, that's what's happening. And then it went silent. It's been silent for a while now. Thank you so much again for having me.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Elaine.